Welcome, everybody, to the Thrive in Wabash County podcast. Tonight, we are joined in studio with two very special guests. One surprise, which I think I'm more excited to talk to your daughter than I am you, but really excited to have you both on the podcast tonight. We are joined by Matthew Purkey, the president and CEO of Josiah White, and his daughter, Micah. Welcome to the podcast tonight, guys.
How you feeling?
Good.
I think Micah's got more confidence, and she just learned she's going to be on the podcast like 5 minutes ago.
She actually came as a fan just to sit and observe, and here we are, headphones, microphone. Let's go.
Locked in.
Locked in.
Locked in. Well, Micah, in case you don't know, but the Thrive in Wabash County podcast we created to raise awareness and excitement about all the great things going on in Wabash County, not just for people that may be moving to Wabash or considering moving to Wabash, but for our existing residents that are here today. And what we've really enjoyed so far about the podcast is the opportunity to have guests from across the county come on, tell their story, highlight the work that they do in our community. And it's really allowed us through this platform to shine a light on some of the incredible things and people that make Wabash County the place that it is. And your dad is one of those people, so I know you're really proud of him. We're really proud to have your dad here in the community. But Matthew, for listeners that may not be familiar with Josiah White, maybe we'll just start there. What Josiah White is, who Josiah White is, the work that you all do. Yeah. And then we'll get into maybe a little bit more about you and how you found Josiah White.
Love it. So 175 years ago, Josiah White, the businessman, he was a titan in the canal industry from Pennsylvania, made his way west, and he made it as far as Wabash County. He planted his flag, and he had a vision 175 years ago of he wanted to provide opportunity for every child, regardless of race and gender. So think about how radical that was then. And fast forward to 2025, and we are still living out that same vision today. For 175 years, we have remained a Christ-centered organization committed to enriching the lives of both children and their families. We do that through emotional healing, personal development, and spiritual growth. It's a really fancy mission statement and a way to say that we change lives for a living. We get kids from all 92 counties across the state, right here in Wabash County at our residential program, but we also have foster care licensing all across the entire state and family preservation services.
Could you rattle that off, Micah, the same way your dad did? Wow. You do that a little bit, huh?
I do.
You do that a little bit.
It's a great privilege to serve such an honorable mission. And it, you said you rattle it off so easily, but at this point, it's ingrained in my DNA and the mission that we are trying to accomplish every day, and just providing hope and opportunity for kids in a lot of situations that have been told otherwise they were not going to succeed. So we get kids from all 92 counties, like I said, and we get them from all different types of reasons, but we get them and they're on probation. They could be facing additional criminal charges. They're high school dropouts. But most importantly, what I see most and plagues our students the most is hopelessness. So we get these kids, and they have given up hope, and anywhere from 13 to 18 years old, and they've been told, you're not going to make it. You're not going to graduate high school. You're not going to do these things. And to sit and watch a transformation from 6 to 18 months, however long they're here, and them start to believe in themselves, there's no greater mission that I could think of trying to accomplish.
And I'll tell you, the work that you all are doing out at Josiah White's, I know that I took for granted for a long time since I've been here in this community. And until somebody is out on campus and spending time out there and seeing the work that you all are doing, it's hard to grasp. Yeah. Right. And so for our listeners, that if this is the first time they've heard about Josiah White's, or if it's been a long time and they just remember what Josiah White's maybe used to be, we'll get in a little bit later in the podcast about what makes Josiah White so special today and where you're headed as well. Yep. But it's really, truly amazing and an asset and an anchor institution has been, as you'd mentioned, for generations here in Wabash County.
Absolutely.
So excited to talk more about that.
Yep.
That's what you're excited about and the work that you get to do and being here in Wabash County. But you all aren't from here. So correct. Maybe a little bit where you're from, how you got to Wabash County, and then Micah, we're going to kick it over to you and find out what you enjoy about Wabash County. But first, how'd you all find Wabash?
Micah, first of all, you are not allowed to use the word slay at all during the podcast.
Before we started recording, I got an education in what the meaning of the word slay meant.
Originally from Dayton, Ohio, my wife and I both are born and raised. Grew up in a great household. My parents were fantastic. Been together since they were 16, very much in love still. Have 3 amazing sisters. But I made the choice not to do right. So I was in and out of trouble my entire childhood. It led me to a situation that I had a choice to make. I could either face very serious charges or I can go into the United States Marine Corps. This is after I had barely finished high school. I graduated second to bottom of my graduating class. Partied out of not one, two, but three different colleges. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. In all my infinite wisdom, I thought to myself, it would be a great idea? Let's move to Florida and manage a bar. What could possibly go wrong? And everything that you could guess did. And so I ended up in a situation that I couldn't get myself out of. And other than giving my life to Christ and marrying my beautiful wife, choosing the Marine Corps was the best decision I've ever made. So joined the Marine Corps, loved everything about it, multiple deployments, traveled the world, met some of the best friends and brothers that you can ever imagine. My last deployment was in Haiti, post-earthquake, 2010. And I was planning on doing 30 years in the Marine Corps. I loved everything about it, the camaraderie, the travel, the adventure. But what I didn't expect to get to Haiti and have a calling on my life that was so strong that I was hearing, you have been trained on global wars, but it's now time to fight local battles. And so I took that same mission accomplishment from the United States Marine Corps and took it to the nonprofit sector. Next 10 to 12 years, I ran United Ways in Dayton, Ohio, Athens, Georgia, and most recently in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's what brought us here in the first place. We led through COVID in Allen County, did some great things, multi-county homeless COVID shelter, everything to, we doubled in size and revenue and expanded our programming. But I was going through what a lot of other nonprofit executives were going through at the time, pretty severe burnout. And, I gave a TED Talk in 2015 called Still Serving Different Uniform. And it highlighted the need for community service as a mitigator to suicide and isolation. I've lost 7 Marine Corps brothers to suicide since getting out. And in that TED Talk, I had mentioned 2 organizations that did it very well. Number 1, Team Rubicon, and number 2 is The Mission Continues. The Mission Continues then called and said, hey, we're trying to do some systemization work across the country. Would you come serve with us? And I said, absolutely. Did that for a couple years. Again, loved everything about it. Mission, camaraderie, clientele. But what I didn't love is the fact that my wife and 3 small kids were giving up their husband and father for 2 to 3 weeks a month. I was traveling 53 locations across continental U.S. and 2 in Puerto Rico. And I was giving a talk one time, and I said, hey, thank you so much, Albuquerque, for your support. Except I was in San Antonio. I knew at that point that enough was enough. So went to my pastor, Pastor Brian Beal from Pathway Church in Fort Wayne, and I said, hey, I don't need a new job, but I'd really like a new job. This job, my current ambition is prohibiting me from being the husband and father that I was designed to be. He said, okay, you should probably check out Josiah White's in Wabash. And I said, what is Josiah White's and where is Wabash? No idea. And so I was thinking, this mom and pop shop doing some pretty good work, but probably not in my career trajectory. And Alex, I can't overstate the fact that I was on campus for 5 minutes and I said, this is where I want to spend the rest of my career. It is like nothing I've ever seen before. I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of nonprofits in my United Way career, and the mission continues. And I've never seen an organization with the transformational power that happens on a daily basis at Josiah White's. Absolutely hooked. Everything from, I've been here almost 2 years, and I still can't properly articulate everything that happens on a daily basis. I mean, every day I find out something new that we are doing. And I look at our team, and I'm like, where do you guys come from? Wendell Mealy, for example, Wendell Mealy's job description at Josiah White's is technically a landscaper, but if you meet her, that's not it. I'm a first impression specialist, and she makes the campus so beautiful that everybody who steps foot on it knows that they're welcomed and loved. So over 300 employees that are in the mission for the right reasons and all rowing the same way.
And that type of ownership in Josiah White's, your mission, what you're doing, is something, to your point, that exists with the staff who've been there for decades, spent their entire career there in a lot of cases, right? And that level of ownership is something so unique and special about Josiah White's, and it bleeds through. That's part of what you feel on campus.
In the nonprofit sector, when you hear lifer, you're thinking, oh, this individual has been here 10 to 12 years. Alex, we have a family that has been represented on staff and has lived on our campus since 1895. When I say that this mission, when it gets in your soul, I don't know if there's another mission that could ever fulfill me the way that this one does. And it's constantly refueling. You know, I tell our marketing team at Josiah White's all the time is like, you guys have the best story to tell. Because anytime I feel myself wrapped up in the politics or the administrative or the fundraising element, whatever it may be, all I have to do is walk out of my office door. And at any point, any kid I talk to,
You're so close to it.
cup
right?
is filled.
So close to it.
Cup is filled.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, a lot of communities hear economic development, right? And they think a lot about the big manufacturer, right? The big employer. And in northern Indiana, northeast Indiana, manufacturing's huge, right? And in Wabash County, manufacturing's huge. And we're very fortunate to have a lot of generational anchor large manufacturing employers that have continued to not only pour into their business, but pour into our community and are blessed with strong leaders of those organizations. However, in Wabash County, we're extremely fortunate to have some large nonprofit anchor institutions that have strong leaders, no different, like yourself and others in this county. But you think about Josiah White's employing 300 people. You think about what the Honeywell Foundation and the economic impact that Honeywell has on Wabash County, both from an employment standpoint and an attraction standpoint. You think about Manchester University and the hundreds of people that Manchester employs. You'd be hard-pressed to find a community of 30,000 people that's as fortunate to have for-profit and nonprofit sector anchor institutions like we have here in this community.
Absolutely. You know, we're a $30 to $32 million a year revenue. We're a $50 million a year local economic impact. We're 800 acres, 550 of it being farmland that our students that are so blessed from all 92 counties to come in, they've never been in a cornfield before. They've never been in a chicken coop. They've never fed the cows. And again, when I said, oh, it's probably a mom and pop shop, I could not be more wrong. I mean, there are 31 teams that are functioning on a daily basis across our campus that are just firing on all cylinders. And this team makes it very easy to show off. Everyone from the board down to the volunteers, every level of the staff, the work that they do on a daily basis, they make it very easy to come into an environment like this and talk so passionately about it, because they welcomed me not only into the community, but onto campus. When in a lot of communities, you would have to work for that rapport, or you would have to work for that credibility. This community, it wasn't the fact that you had to work to belong. You had to give them a reason why you shouldn't belong. And if I don't give Josiah White's a reason why I shouldn't belong, I feel like I will always be welcome there.
Yeah. One thing that is extremely special about Wabash County as a community that I felt since I moved here and came here, stayed here after I graduated from Manchester, was that once people realized that you're in the trenches with them every day, right, rolling up your sleeves and working, you're extremely welcomed, right? Like, I think that's across the community you're welcomed, but that's exactly what you just articulated and described about your experience at Josiah White's. But I would say that watching you lead since you've gotten there and talking to your different team members from day one, you are in the trenches out there. If anybody follows Josiah White's on social media, follows you on social media, LinkedIn specifically, they can see you in the dining hall, right, working with the kitchen staff. They can see you out with the grounds crew. It's not like a photo op or a one-off experience. It's you every single day with your people, right?
It was in my first 90 days of being here, it was the goal to shadow all 31 of those teams. And again, I don't do it because I don't want any of our team to feel micromanaged. That's not why I do it. But I want to see and feel what they experience. So when those strategic or operational decisions come due, I know exactly what they're facing. And far too often, especially in the nonprofit sector, we have people that are creating policies for front lines that they've never been on. And I never want to be that organization. I want to know exactly what they're going through. I want to know what they experience on a daily basis so I can make those operation and strategic decisions, empower them, resource, get out of their way, and give them that opportunity to do exactly what they were hired to do.
And that isn't easy. Being a CEO of a 300-person organization is not common. The leaders and CEOs are that way, right? And so that just speaks to why I think Josiah White's, you feel what you feel in terms of being accepted. While, yes, they welcomed you from the jump, but it has a lot to do with how you've led since you've gotten there.
Thank you.
But
I appreciate that.
I remember when you and I first met and had a conversation, I said, I think you just got in the position, and it was, when are you moving to Wabash? And you said, well, we're not going to move to Wabash
Yeah.
because of our kids. Our kids like Fort Wayne. They're in the schools, they're sports, involved in a lot of different things. We feel such strong support in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. How long after that conversation was it before you were moving to Wabash?
It was probably about a year, maybe less. I don't know. Again, we loved our community in Fort Wayne. We loved our neighbors. We loved everything about it. And we said, we will never leave Fort Wayne. We will never leave this community. We bought that house. We were planning on retiring from that house. Our kids graduating from that school district. But the more I was here, the more the stigma of rural Indiana was tore down. Like I always thought like, oh, we have a child on an IEP. This school district's not going to be able to handle that situation. Oh, we have a child that likes to play this sport. They're not going to handle this situation. And the more I was in this community, the more I was proved wrong daily. This community, Wabash, Indiana, is like nothing I've ever experienced. And I love it for so many reasons. Her math teacher is our neighbor. You know, within the Southwood School District specifically, I feel like if I don't know the teacher personally, I know someone who knows them personally. You know, going to church every Sunday, it's not that I don't know anybody, but by the end of the day, I'm going to. And seeing those people in and out of town and knowing that they have my children's best interest at heart. When in some communities, everything feels like a competition. Here, it feels like we're all in it together. And that's what I have fallen in love with so much. I mean, where we lived, our kids were not able to go riding in the woods or play in the creek or go to the chicken coop or feed the cows or whatever it is. And now my kids get to come home and experience that every single day.
Micah, you're up. It's what I appreciate all of that. And you're somewhat paid to say that maybe a little bit now, while I know that's 100% organic and genuine from you. Micah, what do you think? So grew up in Fort Wayne. And Dad comes home and says, what do you think about moving to Wabash?
At first, I thought it was going to be just like Fort Wayne, but then when we moved, so yeah, it would be, now we just get to go across the street to feed the chickens or go feed the cows. Before we moved, we had to drive like an hour.
Have you named the cows?
I was planning on naming like the new bull named Shelty,
Okay.
but I didn't say the name in time, and then someone else got to pick it, but I love that name. I named it after one of the coworkers.
Yep.
From White's? I love it. I love it. So you are in what grade?
I'm in 6th grade.
Okay, 6th grade. And you've been in school for a month now? About?
Yeah, 6 weeks.
What are you enjoying the most about school here?
I love my friends. They're so sweet. My teachers, they're like nice and they help you with things. And I love how usually we don't really work by ourselves. Usually get to do something fun. We get to work, but we get to work with other people a lot. So it was homecoming week this week. So today was USA Day.
Did you dress up for USA Day? What did you wear today?
I wore a red Southwood sweatshirt,
Already repping?
a black shirt, a maroon Dr. Pepper shirt, which is also red, so it's matching my sweatshirt. And then I wore a bunch of face paint. I don't know if I still have face paint on my face. I don't think I do.
I don't think so either. That would have been good, though. That would have been different. We've not had a guest show up with a painted face yet. But.
You sweated it off at cross-country practice?
Yep.
So running cross country,
Yeah.
loving that so far?
Mhm.
Okay.
I love all my friends, but I'm the youngest person, so there's a high school team and there's a junior high team. And I'm the only 6th grader, and there's no 7th graders. There's only 8th graders. And they're all in 8th grade, so next year I'll be all by myself if I still did it next year, because they'll all be on the high school team.
You're going to have to recruit some more friends,
Yeah.
younger
right.
friends, to jump on the team with you.
Got a little brother coming up. Give you a run for your money. See what
He
I did
won't
there?
do that at all. He's a sprinter.
Does
He's
he
not
always make dad
distance.
jokes like that? Did you hear what he said? Run for your money?
Get it?
Yes. And he thinks it's funny, and it's not.
It's funny.
Before we started recording, Matthew set some ground rules with Micah and said, no coming after him, making fun of him, roasting him, I think was maybe what you said.
That's right.
You can roast him a little bit if you want.
I can't think of anything right now.
What about on campus? So you all live on campus. So one thing I think that before you moved to Wabash that I heard you talk a lot about was your kids when they'd come on campus and visit campus and what that was like. Micah, what is it like living on campus? What do you enjoy about living on campus other than going across the street to feed the chickens?
And the cows. I love how we're like, instead of us having to like spend half of when Dad's at work, when we used to live in Fort Wayne, it would be like school day and then like 2 hours driving there and back. So we'd only, but now like right when he gets home, or it's like a lot shorter, so now we get to see him a lot more. And I love how like I get to see a bunch of the coworkers, and we get to run on campus for cross country and the students.
One big family.
No doubt. Saturday, it's organic how it happens, but we'll say, hey, we're thinking about throwing something on the grill. And we looked back, and there's 16 kids in our backyard. So, I mean, all the families who represent the staff at White's, they also bring their family, and they live that mission. We're all in it together. And I mean, it's hard to say you're not committed, you're not there for the right reasons if you're living within the population that you're serving.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing when we were at the beginning of the podcast a little bit about your story and your background. I think that's one of the coolest things. And thank you for your service, not just in the military, but with what you're doing every single day. I've heard you speak a little bit about, because of your background and upbringing and the choices you made in life and where you are now as a president and CEO after finishing second to last and getting in trouble, all of those things. How have those experiences allowed you to relate to young people and pour into young people every single day?
Yeah, so one, I have the honor of welcoming all new employees on Monday morning. So new employee orientation, I get the honor of telling the new staff of the only gospel some of these kids might ever read is the way that we love them. And providing that structure, providing support, providing opportunity is what these kids are after. They're not looking for a handout. They're looking for an opportunity to better their situation. And so I've been there, I've done that, and the way that God used the Marine Corps as an instrument to orchestrate my life, we get to do that on a daily basis. And, walls come down in funny places. So a couple stories. One is when I first got there, I was having a very difficult time building rapport with a specific demographic, and it was young black men. I talked to a good friend of mine in Fort Wayne, and he said, Matthew, go change your shoes. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, go buy a pair of Jordans, walk up to that same table, and watch those walls crumble. And I said, there's no way this is going to work. I've worn Jordans ever since. Do I look silly as a 40-something-year-old man walking around in Air Jordans? Absolutely.
Sometimes in a suit.
Sometimes in a suit. But is it worth it? Yes. Because these kids, 99%, Alex, of these kids, I would say yes, they're with us because of behavioral issues, but it stems from what happened to them first. And so we are uniquely clinical and uniquely Christian in a way that, yes, we're going to deal with the behavior, but we're going to dig into what the root of the issue is, and that's where magic happens. Another one is, the weight room. The weight room in a lot of areas it's where character is revealed. And so sometimes when, the toughest kid has a really bad day, I'll get a call and they're saying, hey, when are you going to go work out? He's going to go work out with you. And they get to hear my testimony. We have a great workout. I tell them everything that I've done, all the bad decisions, and how God has redeemed that to put me in a position to make a difference now. And Alex, there is a moment, and I can pinpoint it when it happens, but they'll look up at me and they'll say, yeah, but you're the CEO. I know, man, isn't that cool? And there is a spark, there's a hope in their eye at that moment that I know now it's time to get to work. Again, Gary, Indy, Fort Wayne, Evansville, you name it, we have students from those counties on campus. Some of my favorite days of the year is we take our students to White Rock, right here in downtown Wabash. Shout out White Rock. And 75 students this last year, and 60 of them have never been in or on the water. So I want to use some terms here. They're not derogatory. I just want everybody to know that. But you take the biggest, baddest gangbanger from Gary, Indiana, and you put him in a canoe, and you watch his posture change. 14 years old, he's taking care of his siblings. He's doing these things. for those 2 hours, Alex, you see his posture change. You hear his voice change. You hear, hey, you might have seen some things on the street, but as soon as he sees his first snake, he is going to scream. But for those 2 hours, it is a belly laugh like I've never heard in my life. For those 2 hours, those kids can let that guard down and be a kid. And there is no greater moment in my professional career thus far than sitting there and thinking to myself, here I am at Josiah White's providing opportunity for every child, no matter of race or gender.
I think one thing that's uniquely special about all the experiences that you continue to develop and provide for students at White's is just that the state of Indiana, DCS, right, is your largest revenue source, right, for students. And the fact that you all, since your inception, have maintained the Christ-centered ministry work that you're doing in each of these young people, right? And I know that there's parts of with DCS what you can and can't do and as it relates to your funding, right? But the fact that you all have been able and committed to maintaining that. And over how many years now? 175?
175
Over
years.
175 years.
Yeah.
And every day, as I mentioned, you talk to anybody that works at Josiah White's, and it's tangible. You can feel it, right? The Christ is present on campus. It's present in each of you that work there and lead there and are pouring into young people every single day. And to your point, for the first time in some of their cases, I think that's incredible, especially in today's climate when that's not a popular thing.
And so, obviously, politics and church, and you get in this conversation, especially in our current environment that we're in as a country, things are very divisive everywhere you look. And one thing that we will not do, the state of Indiana has never asked us to be anything other than ourselves. And that is very rare in this country. Other organizations that are similar to ours across, the West Coast or the Southwest, or even they're shutting down one by one because they're no longer allowed to say the name of Jesus. We are in a very blessed position. Of course, we cannot use state dollars for anything spiritual life related. But what we can do is raise individual dollars, local philanthropy, whatever that is, to be able to continue to do that. And so our spiritual life program, Alex, there's been a movement since September that I've never seen. And, Pastor Brady Bolin, our chaplain, is currently away on an Army detail. Prayers for Pastor Brady and what he's going through. But he has lit a fire on campus. So since September, Alex, we have baptized over 90 kids. 90 kids. Like, you think about that as a church. Like, not only are we getting these kids, we are helping them through the legal system. We are doing everything we can to make sure that they're graduating high school. We are giving professional opportunities depending on what they want to do after they leave campus. Yeah, we're changing generations here. But for that individual, that's eternal change. And these kids are getting baptized. These kids are coming to Christ. These kids are having difficult conversations at Bible studies and at chapel. Our staff, and last night on Sunday evenings, there's a student Bible study that occurs, and it's not just the spiritual life staff that does it. It's across campus. You're going to find cafeteria worker, someone from HR, someone in operations, all sitting at the same table having the difficult conversations. One thing that we've seen recently is the brokenness of the fatherhood identity. And this is not a political statement at all. But also at Josiah White's, we are data nerds. Like, we keep data on everything. And over 90%, Alex, 90% of every student who steps foot on our campus does not have a biological, adopted, or foster father in the household. If you show me any other topic that is 90%, that's an epidemic. You follow that down a rabbit hole, and over 80% of the girls who step foot on our campus have some sort of sexual trauma in their life. The stories that our team hear on a daily basis, you cannot make up. If I didn't hear them myself, I would say that there's no way that this is still happening in 2025. And the fact that our staff has the ability to walk into the darkest parts of not only people's lives, but society on a daily basis with the joy of Christ in their heart, I don't know. You can't explain it. My wife and I, after the kids go to bed at night, we have a segment on today's episode of You Can't Make This Up. Because when I repeat these stories and you think about the Bridge program, you think about the Care Portal, you think about family preservation, you think about Growing Teens for Life, all of our programs across the state. We serve over 1,500 families and kids in 2024. 2025, we're on pace to serve 24% more than we did last year. And every one of these stories, you cannot make these up. The level of brokenness that our staff dives into on a daily basis never ceases to amaze me. And they do it with a smile on their face.
Yeah. And bringing students to Christ, the work that you're doing every single day, there's no such thing as a coincidence, right? Mm-hmm. And for your staff where they're at, for where you're at, and just the powerful opportunity of Jesus working through you all and bringing others to Christ from the darkest situations, right? There's no other way to describe what's going on.
And, unfortunately, from crisis comes innovation. And this is not because of my leadership. This is because of the power of Christ and the amazing team that we have built and the culture that we've built to allow people to thrive in an environment in which they are excited to be in. So we have done a pretty substantial turnaround in the last 2 years. We have gone from a 40% turnover down to an 18 to 22% across the entire organization. And because of that, our programs are improving. People are staying longer. We're attracting the right people. And because of that, our financial turnaround in 2 years is nothing short of miraculous. Not to get into details here, but the way that God has moved through our finances and through our programming and through our culture, it is unbelievable. And I get asked a lot, and it's framed differently depending on where I hear it from, but it's it either comes out as what's next for Josiah White or what keeps you up at night. And when they ask me that question, I answer it through a story. It was December of 2024. Ethan Wells came to me. Ethan was a student that had been there for quite some time, recent high school graduate, amazing young man, has done everything. He was, when you think of the ideal student, I would say Ethan Wells. Ethan came to me on December 27th and he said, Mr. Matthew, I'm not ready to go home. He knew exactly what he was going home to, the temptations that were still in his life, the environment. And I said, I hear you, buddy. So I called DCS. I called his county probation. I called the governor's office. I tried to pull every string I possibly could. And the answer was, there's nothing else you can do for this young man. He's off probation. He's a high school graduate. He's 18 years old. Ethan Wells left on December 27th, and on January 2nd, Ethan was dead for the same reasons he told me he was going to be. So when people ask me what is next for Josiah White, I'm going after, with intentionality and aggressiveness, that system that said no was the final answer. And so we're exploring, what does it look like to provide pilot opportunities in downtown Wabash? We have a natural pipeline for the trade unions. We have a pipeline of students who are hard workers and are looking for an opportunity. If we can provide that opportunity with structure and support, we can also we can be part of a growing population. And so we're looking at opportunities to keep students here when they don't have an opportunity to leave afterwards. The state of Indiana is saying there's nothing else you can do, but we as Wabash County says we can. And so employment partners, transportation partners, education partners, housing partners, what does that look like? Because again, I have a pipe dream of an entire staff of former students. Because Alex, you and I have had this conversation multiple times in many different ways. But if we can somehow, as a society, as a community, funnel these kids with their tenacity and their grit and their survival skills into something positive, these kids are going to change the world. And I want to be part of that story. Because you're not ever going to tell a drug dealer anything about supply and demand. Guess what? They've already lived it.
And what they've overcome in their life from a resilience and perseverance standpoint. And this community and Josiah White's, the work that you all do while they're on your campus, they associate that with this place. right? This is the place that they were able to overcome some of the challenges
Yeah.
that they're facing, and it's just that next piece and that next step so that you don't have to look another child in the face,
Yep.
a young person in the face, right? And have to have that hard conversation.
Alex, I held Ethan's mom in my arms next to his open casket, and I swore to her I will do everything in my power that another mom will never feel the pain that she feels. I'm going to stick to that word.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. You mentioned it a little bit, Matthew, about just the opportunities that students have on your campus. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's the clinical side, there's the spiritual side, which I appreciate you sharing a little bit about both of those. But the hands-on experience, talk a little bit about what those opportunities look like on Josiah White's campus and just how unique that truly is. The partnership with Ivy Tech, I think that's really important as it's part of that whole picture, again, of spiritual and clinical, and then the opportunity to earn money while they're at Josiah White's.
My favorite place to sit on campus, there's rocking chairs right outside of 50 East. My favorite place to sit.
And what is 50 East for the
50
listener?
East is a cafe/store, seasonal store that you can think of a boutique of that nature. Greenhouse.
It's where I bought my Mother's Day presents for my mom, sister, and grandma.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Also, Micah, one of Micah's favorite places to go. But I like to sit in 50 East. And the logic behind 50 East was we are going to bring the community to us. So 50 East is a way for the community to come on our campus and be part of the mission. But my favorite place to sit is in those rocking chairs because for 175 years, and local parents will tell you, it's used as a leveraging tool. Like, hey, if you don't straighten up, you're going to go to White's. Because for 175 years, we're where the bad kids go. So I like to sit in those rocking chairs and watch people walk in. And when they leave, they'll say something along the lines of, that was some of the best customer service I've ever received. And then I get to politely and respectfully mention, next time you hear someone say, that's where the bad kids go, remember that it was those same bad kids that just provided the best customer service you've ever received. And so we are looking for how do we set our students up for the most successful next chapter as possible. So when they come on the campus, they do everything from the hope scale to the passion evaluations, whatever that is. And we have multiple opportunities across our campus. So everything from OSHA and ServSafe to barista to automotive and farm management across our campus. So our students are leaving with skill sets that otherwise they would not have been able to obtain. And it's because of our Growing Teens for Life program. Brittany Burns, I can speak of this publicly because she has also, but she was a foster child through Josiah White's growing up. And now she is running our Growing Teens for Life program. So when people, and we see it all the time, right? We see people that are very book smart who have never had to apply the theory that they speak of. Brittany is the front line for our Growing Teens for Life program. There is nothing we can tell Brittany that she would say, hey, that would be better for Growing Teens for Life. Because guess what? We weren't in that position to understand it. She was. And so she's providing these opportunities all the way across our campus. And people are thriving. People are thriving. Everything from financial reconciliation to electrical and plumbing and framing to, I mean, these are skill sets that we as a society see are in a deficit.
ServSafe, right?
ServSafe,
All of it.
OSHA,
Yeah.
barista, financial reconciliation, contract I mean,
Yeah.
you name it, our kids are leaving with it. And that's why I say if we can funnel that into something positive and as a society be able to look past people's past and see their potential in their future. One of the best things I can ever tell a kid is they'll be having a hard day and they're down on themselves. And I, probably because of my position, which I will always leverage if I can in a positive way, I will walk up and I'll say, if you can see yourself the way that I see you, you will never doubt yourself again. But Mr. Matthew, you're the CEO. Yeah, but I'm here to serve you. I'm here because of you. You know, we have a mutual friend in Fort Wayne that he introduced me to an intern, from his program, and he said, oh, this is one of the greatest strategic thinking minds in the nonprofit sector. You're never going to see a leader like this again, blah, blah, blah. And he really built me up. This young man asked me, so who do you work for? And what he meant by that was, what organization do I lead? But Alex, for some reason, I heard the question differently. I thought to myself, and I was like, well, technically, I work for a board of directors, but that's not what he's asking. You know, I serve my serve and empower and my staff, but no, I was like, I work for the kids and families of the state of Indiana. And I came to this realization in front of this young man who our friend had built me up. And I remember him looking at my buddy and he was like, this is the best you have to offer? Because I was like bottom lip quivering, tearing up. And I was like, but I work for the kids and the families of the state of Indiana. And I came to this realization and he was like, oh, okay.
He just wanted to know what organization. He was just going through some
That was
questions.
it. He set me on fire and I was like, let's go. Let's get to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for everybody that's been listening so far, I think they've picked up on that Matthew Purkey is a perfect example of a leader in our community of what makes Wabash County what it is today. We're so fortunate that he chose Josiah White's in our community to call home. And to his point about who he works for and the amount of lives he's touching every single day and pouring into people is incredible. And so I appreciate you sharing your story and a little bit about the work you're doing. Micah, from your perspective, what is one of the things you appreciate and love most about your dad as a dad?
That he is a hardworking leader, in my opinion. And I have a question.
Oh,
This is great.
she just flipped the
This is
script.
perfect. She did.
Love
Go
it.
ahead.
All right, let's go.
Who are you talking about? Who built you up?
David Leininger.
Man, first banker to ever get a shout out on the podcast until Star Bank starts cutting sponsorship checks to the Thrive in Wabash
Shout out,
County
David.
podcast. You're welcome. You're welcome, David. You're lucky Mike is here. I wasn't going to throw your name out.
I wasn't either.
That he gets to work with students kind of my age and older. So he kind of gets.
You're good.
It's all right, baby.
We
What-
got time. Think about it. You can formulate whatever answer you want. What do you love most about your dad?
That he's funny.
Yeah.
He has a really good style.
Whoa. That's a first.
Does that count the Jordan shoes or no?
It does.
Okay.
Okay, I got a question for you. So our house is on campus. It's part of Josiah White's. We use that house to open it up and we steward that property to help build rapport and relationships in the community. We have a lot of people over for dinner. A lot of people over for dinner. Who has been your favorite dinner guest?
I don't have a number one, but I have like top 3.
Dang. Okay.
Mr. Alex over there.
Is this in order, right? This is in
Yes.
order of the 3. Okay. So you do have a favorite, but
So
I got it. Yep.
Alex, Mr. Blocker, Corey Blocker.
That's
Which
'cause
he's
he-
your math teacher,
He is my
He's in
math
charge of
teacher.
your math grade. Of course
Yeah.
you're going to say that.
but he's number 2. Okay.
Okay,
Sorry,
gotcha.
go ahead.
Number 3. Wait, can it be someone from Wabash?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Or you mean
Or
from
like-
Fort Wayne?
I don't know. My friend from Fort Wayne. Her name is Maddie. She lives in Fort Wayne. She was my best friend. She was my neighbor for, a year or 2?
Yep.
We used to go to the park together. We used to play soccer in our backyard. We used to spray each other with the hose or play water balloons or a bunch of fun stuff.
It's not easy to be going into 6th grade, right? You're in
Yeah.
6th grade, going into 6th grade and moving
And not knowing
away
anybody.
from friends, not knowing anybody. That's really brave.
But now I have a lot of friends. I love them a lot.
And as a family, this was a very prayerful decision. We felt called and pulled to Wabash County. And in that process, as parents, you always think to yourself, what if we made the wrong decision for our kids, right? Micah is in 6th grade, but in Wabash, she's going into high school, right? At Southwood, 6th grade's at high school. I was like, my little girl's going to be in the high school? From our past experience, I was terrified. Micah had actually mentioned a story that she had gotten lost on her first day of school. And she said, I'm just going to go into the bathroom and wait it out. What happened was these high school girls who saw her lost took her under their wing and showed her where her next class was. That's Wabash County. There is a kindness for one another. When we go to the Southwood games, we don't see what we would see at other places. we feel okay letting our kid run down the hill and go play with their friends without watching every move they make.
There's 7th graders walking around, seniors walking around. The boys are playing football, or the girls are playing like volleyball, or they're just running around.
We can't, as a family, think of a better opportunity to raise our kids than right here where we are.
So you have 2 little brothers at home.
They're going to be so mad that they're not on the podcast.
I was just going to, my next question. So Zeke and Gabriel, which one is more upset that they are not on the podcast and you are?
I'd probably say my brother Gabriel. I think he'd be really upset. No offense, Gabe, if you're about to watch this, but you love attention. Zeke?
That's mommy's baby.
Yeah, he's a mama boy.
Are you a daddy's girl?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't even think about that. If you even thought about that, I was going to be real mad.
Sorry, Amanda.
I mean, Zeke might be a little disappointed, but I feel like he wouldn't want to be on TV anyway.
It's true.
I feel like he'd be at home, like, being Zeke.
Yep. We love him just the way he is.
Mm-hmm. Currently, they're at my brother's football practice, currently.
And you opted to come to the podcast studio and be on the podcast.
I thought I was just going to be an observer, but here I am.
Here you are live and in person. Matthew, you've shared a lot about Josiah White's, and if for somebody that's in Wabash County today that wants to get involved with Josiah White's or witness what we're talking about, what piece of advice would you have for them?
Yep.
And then if it's somebody that's not familiar at all with Josiah White's from outside Wabash County, what's the one thing that they should know about the work you all are doing out there?
For those in Wabash County, if you've not been to 50 East, please do so. I think that that's a great representation of who we are. We take situations that could be perceived as broken and make them beautiful, and that's 50 East. Go into our greenhouse, go check out our aquaponic lettuce, go check out, just the shop. Get a cup of coffee. Speak to one of the kids that are working the register. That is both supporting our mission and growing Teens for Life, but you get to feel it. Like, I can talk about Josiah White till I'm blue in the face, and trust me, I do. But I cannot properly articulate it. Go see it for yourself. Because, and rightfully so, our industry has been under scrutiny for a long time. So think of Paris Hilton on the Capitol Hill. Think of the Netflix specials. Think of all these things. When that scrutiny makes it to my inbox, I only have one response, and it's, come see what we do for one day. Come see what we do. Because our therapists, our caseworkers, our maintenance crew, our landscapers, our teachers, I would put this team up against anyone, not only in the country, but in the world. It is like nothing I have ever seen before. And the results that are coming off of our campus, out of our family, out of our foster families, out of family preservation, like I said, God's had his hand on it since day one. Roger Peebles, I can mention his name, Wabash County. But Roger likes to keep me humble. I was talking to Roger one day, and I like to tell him all the great things that are happening on campus. And Roger put his arm around me. We were in the cafeteria, and he said, Matthew, God's had his hand on this for 175 years. You couldn't have messed it up too bad anyway.
But that's it, right?
Thanks, Roger.
Isn't that the
Yes,
truth?
it absolutely is. And if you are not familiar with Josiah White's, you're not familiar with Wabash County, you are thinking the same thing I was. What is Josiah White's and where is Wabash? I didn't know how professionally unfulfilled I was until I witnessed Josiah White's and moved here to live it. Again, there is a population that goes very unspoken of. A lot of the stories that we hear on a daily basis, you won't even hear on the news. And we deal with them every day. We're one of 11 organizations in the state of Indiana that are intensive foster care licensed, meaning, in the words of the state of Indiana, not ours, these are the worst of the worst. These are the stories that when you hear them, you will say, there is no way that this is happening. And it is on a daily basis. And this team, this culture that we have built, walks into those situations. And we do what we have done for 175 years. And that is love the broken, let's provide opportunity for every child, regardless of race or gender.
And bringing them to Jesus Christ, right?
That's where hope lives.
Man, special. I have the opportunity to get to work alongside you a lot in what we get to do, working on some really, really unique things together, and appreciate getting to learn from you, look at you as a mentor and as a leader to look up to and work towards someday. And so I get to be witness that every day and appreciate that every day, and appreciate how you've poured into me. But for our listeners, lessons in leadership, some of the things you've learned, you've had to make some really hard decisions. You do every single day just in the work that you do there, right? But have had to make, as a new leader of an organization, some really tough decisions and challenging decisions. What's some advice you could share to young leaders that are listening to this podcast today, people who work in the nonprofit space, for-profit space, want to be a better leader at work, want to be a better leader at home? What are some of those lessons that you'd share today?
Man, surround yourself with people that hold you accountable. You know, being part of that group, I surround myself with people that they'll make me very aware of my blind spots. And that's what you need in life. When I joined, when I was given the absolute privilege of taking the role at Josiah White's, the first thing that I understood was that some leadership pyramids need to be flipped on their head. We as a society, we think that leadership is up in an ivory tower somewhere, that they are creating policy that impacts everybody else but doesn't know exactly what's going on, and that is exact opposite of what it should be. Every leader should know their people. Every leader should know exactly what they go through and how to best serve them, because some of the most dangerous comments that I've ever heard in leadership are definitive statements, always. There's never an always, because we deal with human beings. Human beings are different. Everybody's unique. You lead everybody unique. This might offend some people, but I believe that the leadership development industry is extremely saturated. We've watered down the word of leader because everybody loves a title, but not everybody loves the responsibility that comes with it. And I had a Marine Corps mentor that said leadership is the ability to serve in the front, but the humbleness to serve alongside. And far too often, and especially right now, we see a lot of do as I say, not what I do. And that is extremely dangerous because it sets people up to that ivory tower that, I'm going to continue to pursue leadership because this is what I think it is. I think it's the closest parking spot and the office furthest from the mission, when that should be opposite. We should be parking the furthest from the door and having the office closest to the mission. Leadership, I've learned a lot the hard way, and I have multiple leadership degrees, but there is nothing that is more educational for a leader than life experience. That give me someone who has been through something. That's who I want to be next to on the front line. Don't get me wrong, I love the next generation and I want to experience it with them too, but look for those people that have been through something and come out the other side and have a story to tell and the scars to talk about. Those are the people I like to surround myself with.
Man, Micah, no pressure. You're up. What's your definition of leadership?
That you get to work with amazing people, and you just get to help them with whoever's going through.
It's good, baby.
Man, I would say that your servant leadership mentality that you have is instilled in your daughter.
That same new employee orientation on Mondays.
Good job, Micah. Good answer.
Good job, baby. The new staff get there, and I think that they see the title, and they see me walk in, and they expect some, speech is going to blow their mind. And it's just not what they get. I say I expect two things out of every person that works here. Number one, be very good at the job you were hired in to do. Number two, be even better to one another. Everything else we'll figure out. Because that addresses performance and culture. And then I tell them, I want this to be your last job. Not your last role, but your last job. But if you do those two things, I promise you, there will always be opportunities here for you.
Micah, what have I missed?
Nothing really.
Do you think we've covered it?
Can I say one more thing about leadership?
Of course.
Okay. Leadership can be faked. I can walk into a room and I can get a crowd riled up because of words and charisma and these things. Leadership can be faked. But when my daughter, who sees me at my best and my worst, is sitting right here next to me, and I can say the things that I am saying with integrity, that cannot be faked. You cannot fake it around those who are around you the most. And a podcast listener that I've never met might say, oh, he's got some pretty good one-liners. Maybe that's leadership. But when my daughter's sitting here looking me dead in my eye and saying, nope, that's about it.
Yeah, and they can come and step on campus and see you around the students, see you around your team, and watch how you interact with them and lead with them, and they'll know really quickly that they're not one-liners. Or to hear Micah's answer of what is leadership is working with people. Mm-hmm. It is helping people, right? That servant leadership mentality that you've taken on of being in the trenches with your people has bled through. We'll make sure we get that blown up on video.
Uh-oh.
We'll turn that into a reel, Micah.
I'm just thinking of, I have 2 things to say at the end with your sponsors.
Do you want to say them before I thank the sponsors or after?
I'll do them after.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Are you good?
Good.
Okay.
I love my team. I love my family. I love these opportunities. I love this community. It's good to work.
And this community is so fortunate to have you.
Oh.
This is exactly, I don't know why we waited so long, why I waited so long to get you on the podcast, because anybody that's listened for the last hour knows that this is exactly why we started the podcast, right? Was to highlight the stories and the people that make Wabash County who we are. And you have been all along this interview instilled that, but also all the people that are behind you and with you, not behind you, but alongside you every day in the work that you get to do. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on. Micah, thank you for allowing us to last minute put you on the spot and include you in the podcast. This podcast is only made possible from our generous sponsors, the Lisa Gilman Investment Fund, the Sandra Kunkel Trust, Mark and Amy Ford, Paperworks Industries, the City of Wabash, the Community Foundation of Wabash County, and Visit Wabash County. And before I officially close us out, Micah, you have a couple things you want to share.
I do. I have 2 or 3 things to say.
Okay. How nervous are you right now?
I am sweating.
Okay.
I was hungry the entire podcast. I did this, and you didn't even realize, and I was so hungry. Shout out to Southwood.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Southwood.
To my friends, to my family. Hi, Gabe. Hi, Zeke. Hi, Mom. Hi, Arlo.
Arlo's the dog.
Shout out to my friends. I love you guys. Third thing, I had a really good time.
So did I. Thanks, Micah, for being here. I think we're going to add that as a segment. After all the thank yous, we'll allow the guests to give any shout-outs. Do you have any shout-outs you want to add?
No, I think I've hit on, for the last hour, I've hit on everybody who we're close to. If I could, I would name off all 300 and something employees at Josiah White's because, again, I'm here. I'm here to resource and support you, empower you, what you signed up to do, and get out of your way.
Well, as somebody that's fortunate to work in this community and work across Wabash County, I'll take the moment to say on behalf of our community, thank you for choosing to be at Josiah White's. Thank you for choosing Wabash County for you and your family. We're so fortunate you're here and appreciate just you sharing today on the podcast so that our listeners can get a small taste of you as a leader and the impact that Josiah White's and you're having every day in Wabash County.
Yep, you guys are stuck with me now.
Uh-oh, look out.
We're here.
Until next time, I'm Alex Downard, and this is the Thrive in Wabash County podcast.
I would have worn nicer clothes if I knew.
You got to be prepared.
Always got to be prepared.
Which means always wear nice clothes.
If you stay ready, you never have to get ready. You heard?
See, if you still lived in Fort Wayne, you probably never would have gotten to be on a podcast.
It's true.
Until you were famous, then you'd be on a podcast.
We went by your billboard, and I said, baby, that's where we're going. She was like,
And here we are.
here you are.
Here we are.
Your podcast debut. Big things.
Wait, it's going to be on YouTube because I want to watch it
It's going to be on YouTube for sure. Definitely going to be on
Yay.
YouTube.
I'm going to watch it every day.